Mastering life and business with your winning path. Come with us to master a path of success that will revolutionize your life and business journey. We provide strategies that transform dreams into reality, steering you towards victory. Immerse yourself in a reservoir of knowledge, unlocking potential and boosting confidence. By joining us, you will witness your capabilities unfold in ways you never imagined. Discover tools to conquer challenging terrains, staying resilient amidst hurdles. Embrace innovation, elevate performance, and watch your vision come alive. Together, we can conquer peaks and create a future beyond ordinary. So, start your journey with Innovate to Elevate today.
So today, our topic is understanding the disruptive models of business and how they apply to business.
Aaron, right before we got on here, we get in these like stream of consciousness kind of conversations, and we're talking about disrupting business. But I think one of the things that we've learned from companies like Amazon and Apple and MySpace and Twitter and kind of all these big companies that we think of now, at some point they were sitting and thinking and having these types of conversations, much like I think we just were, of like, at some point in your life, these things start to show up and you have to be ready to pivot. You have to be ready to kind of come into what some people call like a zone of genius, or they have some sort of God moment, or like, oh my gosh, these are my gifts and talents and my purpose. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I've been working my butt off on this stuff over here, but now like I found this thing, it gives me energy. I understand it. I'm able to, you talked about putting teams in place, surrounding yourself by better people. I mean, what did Steve Jobs with Apple do? He surrounded himself by good people so that he can just stay in his, literally thinking different kind of mentality.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree with all that. And when it comes to disruptive business models, the other thing I think about is, it takes someone to sit there and say they want to disrupt an entire market and be new. When you look at wealth generation, and I'm talking generational wealth generation, not
Right.
I'm going to be successful with, a $2 or $3 million a year company, which that's still an amazing feat in itself. A lot of people never really even make it to $1 million a year. But when you look at the wealth generation, it takes someone who has a disruptive business model and who can be, or who is a trailblazer of that industry. When you look at Apple and Microsoft were on this climb trying to outdo each other almost really early on in their companies. They became the massive tech companies that we see today. When you look at Amazon, how many times have you watched an interview with Jeff Bezos, and he even said it from the beginning, everyone said I was going to fail. I had just a couple people helping me through and basically telling me it can be done. It started as a bookstore, but now it's a global phenomenon that everybody is using. I mean, when you think of the revenue that company in itself generates in a minute, not an hour, not a day, not a year, in a minute of its existence, it's mind-boggling.
Right. And when you think about that, and I think what I really like about even those three companies that you chose, we saw this shift from what we used to consider a traditional business model, or this idea of brick and mortar and a retail kind of space. Like, how could a retail store ever achieve something like an Amazon? When you think about like this, it's not really an achievable business model. In fact, I don't know about you, but most of the malls around me are closing.
100%. And to answer that question of can a brick and mortar achieve the status of Amazon, I think 15 years ago, someone probably could have somewhere. But now that Amazon is here, there's no way, because where do a lot of brick and mortar stores go to sell their stuff now online? I mean, I do it.
Right.
I open up an Amazon account and I say, I want to sell these products, and I sell them through Amazon because it's the easy way to do things. I sell it through Etsy and through all these various sites. You and I write books together, and where do we sell our books? One of the places is Amazon KDP.
Right.
Like you can't disrupt that business model at this point. And when I say that, I say at this point because anything can be done, but it's not going to be done anytime soon.
Right. Talk to me. And I know that you're super into this, and I don't want to go too deep because I know we're going to cover this in other episodes. But what are we seeing next? Like, how is AI going to affect that? How is automation going to affect that? Like, what's the role of what those two things are going to play in future opportunities to disrupt business and disrupt that growth? And I don't want people and our listeners to hear that disrupt is a negative thing. Clearly, we've talked about companies that are disrupting a business model and a way of doing business that are extremely positive. So, because I think sometimes they're like, oh, you're disrupting flow or you're disrupting this. Awesome. You should be doing that. That's what makes you stand out as a business, stand out as a company, stand out as a podcast. Do it different.
Yeah, no. So as far as the disruption goes, just to kind of touch on that real quick, I think it's important for every single business owner or anyone looking to get into business to come up with a disruptive business model, because without a disruptive business model, I don't think you are going to see the wealth that you dream of when you open a company. Most people open a company and they think it's a multi-million-dollar idea. For it to be a multi-million-dollar idea, you have to disrupt something somewhere. Even if it's another company's business, you're still disrupting a business.
Right.
Right. Now, as far as the AI goes, I have talked to many people about AI, and not even just the new generation AI. I have people in my family that were working on AI, and I'm talking the initial AI that the government used back in the 70s. Mm-hmm. That's how long AI has been around, and a lot of people don't understand that. So when a lot of people talk about the trailblazers of AI nowadays, they don't understand that, yes, there's been a lot of breakout in the last 5 years, but this has been around since the 70s. It's just now finally catching on a private sector or within the private sector. With that being said, AI is definitely going to be the next big thing. When it comes to, everyone was jumping on social media and you had all those people, hey, social media is not the next big thing. It became the next big thing.
Right.
I will tell you right now, AI is going to be the next big thing, whether people want to accept it or not. They almost need to accept it. And everyone sits here and talks about it's going to disrupt the human race in a negative way. There's that possibility of it, 100%. Mm-hmm. But that's also where it's important for people like us, like me, and these companies that do government contracts to be at the forefront of it and make sure it never gets to that point. It's the programmers that will get it to that point,
right?
Not the general ChatGPT user.
Correct.
Right. I mean, how often do you and I sit down and talk about the automations that I write for the Forza agency, mm-hmm. or marketing automations and all of that? And those automations can take days and days and days to write. But if you don't write it properly, it can mm-hmm. disrupt the entire flow for a customer. Literally just one word in there, one line of code, one of anything. The last one I wrote for one of our customers, I think it took me like 2.5 weeks to write it, to make it right.
Right. I think when you're talking about those things, and if I could give listeners kind of an idea or like a tool or a tip to be thinking about, it's like, go research these things, align yourself with people who are doing these things and learn and be aware. And what you need to be doing is wrapping yourself around and getting people around you that allow you to be successful in these spaces. You don't have to be the expert, but go find one. Go 100%. Find an Aaron and be like, hey, help me understand this, because I know it's going to be important to my business in the future. And it's going to be a game changer. It's just a matter like, are you getting on board, or are you going to try to fight a system that is coming?
Well, and that's a big thing right there. Are you going to fight it? If you think about when people talk about the top 1%, and they want to sit here and they want to complain about top 1% has money, the top 1% this, top 1% that. It's because the top 1% looks at all of these things as the next rocket ship taking off.
Mhm.
They're willing to jump on board right now and do instead of complain. And when you become a doer, you become an achiever.
Right.
You can't achieve without doing
No,
at the end of the day.
you have to do the work.
100%. And going down the AI route, and you know how excited I get when we start talking about AI.
Yeah.
But going down the AI route, I can think of an AI that anyone can use right now that, I mean, we literally just used, I think 2 days ago. It was yesterday or the day before.
Mhm.
And that was when we were posting the job for the marketing agency, one of the
Right.
job postings on LinkedIn. You put in all this information on LinkedIn and it's right there. Oh, have AI write your job description narrative for you. And it's not like it's pulling it offline. It's literally taking the input stuff and writing the description
Right.
at your company.
Right.
It's crazy. Everybody uses it. They just don't realize it.
Right. It's already being used. You've been it's been slowly, for lack of a better way, infiltrating your space for a while.
Yep.
And so if you can align yourself, pay yourself, and use it, it's going to create efficiencies. The title of this podcast, to innovate so you can elevate. If you're not innovating in your business all of the time, it's going to be a challenge to elevate it to whatever the level you want it to be, whether you want it to be a 7-figure company or you want it to be legacy. I love that idea of this legacy wealth, right? That means you're leaving for generations. You're not just working for the now.
Yeah. In legacy wealth is much more than just leaving for your generations. It's also leaving for the generations around you.
Mm-hmm.
I say the generations around you, those in your circle,
Mm-hmm.
those that you bring up, those that you meet on the elevator that you're also helping to achieve success. I mean, it's everybody that you come into that is benefiting from what you do at the end of the day. Everyone always sees the CEO at the top of the company making $1 zillion, whatever their salary is plus bonuses. But what they don't see is the entire executive board that makes those same kind of bonuses and salaries,
Mm-hmm.
entire programming department that makes hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. I mean, the top people at Apple, and I haven't looked recently, but at one point when I looked, there's some people there making $300,000-400,000 a year programming,
Right.
plus bonuses. So there are so many jobs created by creating a disruptive business model and doing all of these efficiencies. Right? You sit here, well, not you specifically, but when people sit here and they say AI and robots are taking jobs away from people, there's truth behind that, but they're also giving a massive amount of jobs back to people.
Correct.
Because what do you need to run those things? Programming.
Mm-hmm.
You need this new generation to understand how to program and do all of this stuff to run it. And I remember at one point in time, someone told me that and said, this is a horrible thing that robots are taking over. No, it's horrible for you because you're older and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, at this point, you should be retiring.
Right.
Now it's time for the new generation to come in who understands this stuff. And now they have an entire 20 or 30 years that they get to work.
Right.
So we're just prepping for the next generation to take over.
Right.
That's the mindset that everyone always needs to be thinking about is don't think about the negative in something, think about the positive in something.
Right.
Make an impact.
Right. And what's that impact going to be? You don't have to figure it out today. Just go make it.
100% agree.
So if you like what you're hearing already, here we are right away in the beginning, dropping bombs all the time and all the way through. Make sure that you're sharing these ideas with other people. Click the link, like, subscribe, share, do all of those amazing social media things that we all tell you to do that you are afraid to do. And let us know what you want to hear about. How are you innovating your business? Comment below. Make sure you give us some feedback about what you like, what you don't like. what else you want to hear, because we're here to stay. We're not going anywhere.
And if you don't like it, give us a thumbs down and don't subscribe.
Perfect.
Only subscribe if you truly get something out of it.
Love it.
Mastering life and business with your winning path. Come with us to master a path of success that will revolutionize your life and business journey. We provide strategies that transform dreams into reality, steering you towards victory. Immerse yourself in a reservoir of knowledge, unlocking potential and boosting confidence. By joining us, you will witness your capabilities unfold in ways you never imagined. Discover tools to conquer challenging terrains, staying resilient amidst hurdles. Embrace innovation, elevate performance, and watch your vision come alive. Together, we can conquer peaks and create a future beyond ordinary. So, start your journey with Innovate to Elevate today.